Welcome to the Backyard Professor Live Sunday evening. We are on August 24th, 6 p.m. Mountain Time in the United States of America. I didn't get a thumbnail posted, so there's probably going to be a few of you mad at me. I apologize. Today, I want to just share a couple of brief ideas. Um, I I just got around to watching the documentary on the Dorothy Izatt story that is truly amazing. It's every bit as remarkable, it's every bit as tested and analyzed and checked into as the Chris Bledsoe story itself is. I believe it's been about a year ago when Danny Jones interviewed Ryan Bledsoe, Chris's son, and they were talking about the Dorothy Izatt story. Izatt, I call her Izatt, Izatt. It might just be Izatt. I've heard it pronounced Izatt, but I think it's Izatt. It's just my opinion. But her story is really, truly very interesting because, like so many people who have been in the private sector and who have had contact with the aliens, her story shows us that she had telepathic communication with the beings in the sky. And they communicated with her and they shared their ideas with her about them being worried about humanity and about the choices that are before us. Now, this story is 20 years old, and very precious few people know about it, which is too bad because it's the Chris Bledsoe story all over yet again, and it's amazing that she has tons of video footage in the documentary capturing the light. I'm going to also, we're not going to watch it here tonight on my channel, but I just finished it an hour ago. I'm going to encourage you to watch that story because they have some of the most crisp, some of the most detailed and fascinating video of UFOs that I have ever seen. It is astonishing. And of course, it is the typical run of the mill story. Nobody believed her. Dorothy was a kindly old great grandmother back then. And she was told by the aliens, the orbs of light, she was told, video us. And she did. And she showed this video to people. And they, in turn, tested it. She got some lab people or something, or some lab people contacted her and tested this video, these videos. There's hundreds of them, apparently. The documentary does a very good job sharing her videos. I'm going to play one of the trailers right now simply because it's worth seeing to give you an idea. If you haven't seen this, you really need to watch this story. It is quite remarkable. Let's take a look.
Claims she has regular contact with extraterrestrials, and her outrageous accounts have passed every scientific test. Doug Bruckner has the story of her alien encounters.
Watch very closely, because if this video is what it's purported to be, you're looking at an alien in a spaceship.
You can clearly see figures in the window, and they turn their heads.
Already studied and authenticated by some photo experts, it's just one of thousands of dazzling images from what's been hailed as the greatest UFO story ever told.
I've been researching UFOs for 35 years, and I've never seen anything like it.
It's an extraterrestrial mystery that's confounded everyone, from psychiatrists to scientists and respected UFO investigators.
It's an authentic phenomenon. Something real is going on. but they have absolutely no idea as to what it is.
Just as remarkable as the pictures themselves, the woman who took them.
Professors, doctors, lawyers, anything you can think of, they were coming to do different tests on me.
Her name is Dorothy Izatt, the world's most unlikely UFO contactee. A 75-year-old great-grandmother who says she's been communicating with visitors from other worlds for 25 years.
I've asked them to come closer, and they'll move closer. And I'll ask them if I can film them, if they give me permission to film them.
These pictures are the result, showing everything from alien beings to spaceships to masses of glowing orbs in the sky and inexplicable flashes of light. All contained on more than 350 reels of film this spry granny shot with her little Super 8 camera from the balcony of her Vancouver apartment. She remembers when it first happened, on an otherwise ordinary afternoon back in 1974.
I looked up in the sky, and here was this enormous craft that looks like a huge like diamond-shaped thing up in the sky.
This is without a doubt the most remarkable piece of footage she shot.
It was where the aliens showed up.
It's an image that appeared during one of Dorothy's routine sky watches just recently.
And then I noticed that in the window were a couple of aliens in the window. So I said, oh dear, I can't see it, the light's so bright. I said, I need to film you. I said, can you turn the lights off the ship and I can film you? And they did. The lights go off. The aliens are there.
And believe it or not, like all of Dorothy's footage, this has been scientifically tested and declared genuine, or at least not faked.
There's not a lot that we know about it, but we know that it's real.
California UFO researchers Monica Ward and Peter Gattilla have thoroughly investigated the Dorothy Izatt phenomenon and are now compiling a book of their findings.
There is a spiritual world and there is a non-spiritual world, a material world, and so forth. What Dorothy has done is she's bridged the gulf between the two.
Meanwhile, Dorothy simply calls her ET friends life beings, who she says come from diverse parts of the universe to impart a simple message to mankind.
No one wants to listen to it because it's so simple and it's so easy. It's LOVE, just love.
Pretty amazing story. In the documentary, they interviewed one of the, I can't remember the relationship. Her daughter, I do believe, Dorothy's daughter. And while she was being interviewed, while the documentary people were interviewing her in her kitchen, it shows they didn't catch it at the time they were videoing her interview, but the light showed up in the window and started jumping back and forth between the window panes. And when the documentary people saw this, they flipped out. They said, oh my gosh, we've caught this. So they returned and showed the whole family what they had accidentally caught. And there were several people in the family who were quite skeptical of her also, or at least not believing. They didn't ridicule her, but they weren't so sure. This really caught them off guard. It was quite the exploit, to be sure. So this happened in the 1970s and 80s that she was filming this. Chris Bledsoe comes along with more of the same back in 10 years ago now, something like that, 2011, 2012. And now we have yet again another incident that is not very well known. Chris has become world renowned. Dorothy Izatt doesn't hardly ever get talked about or viewed at all. I'm not even sure if she's alive or not now. She was in her 70s back then. I am not overly familiar with her story, other than what I've seen in a few of these news clips and the documentary itself. It is pretty cotton picking amazing that this story is so unknown because, and again, it's basically a repeat. It's the same thing that we're having from Chris Bledsoe. and with the same drama, with the same investigation of various peoples who have a lot to lose, and yet they investigate it and they say, this isn't being faked. This woman is not doing it. She never went public. She stayed out of the limelight. When she got with Hynek, and Hynek viewed all of her videos, he said, this is the real thing. He said, now I'm going to give you a piece of advice. This is J. Allen Hynek of the Project Blue Book, later became very skeptical of the Air Force, and he became the granddaddy of ufology. And he told her, he said, stay away from the lunatics. Do not get involved with this. They will completely destroy you. And she did. She stayed hidden, so to speak, for a long time. Nobody knew her story much, other than, say, the local stuff. Every now and then someone locally would check her out. So this is quite very interesting. And so it's the same story with the same contexts. She said they would beam ideas into her mind, whatever that means. Her ideas would come and they were them talking to her, and she could also talk to them. She took her light, and when she saw the orbs, she would tell the orbs, she would say, okay, I'm going to move my light and I want you to imitate my light. And she would move it up and down, and then the orb would move up and down, and she would move it right to left and then back up, and the orb would go right to left and then move back up, etc. So there was definitely an understanding between them and her, and intelligence was being portrayed between them. And then she said, I'm going to film you, and they showed up steadily for a long time, and she got a lot of, it was on Super 8 film though. The man who did the documentary on her became her very good friend, and he also went through the hundreds of hours of videotapes finding the information in order to be able to put together this documentary, and it's well done. It's about 48 minutes, something like that. It's not quite an hour. It's called Capturing the Light. I would encourage you all to look at that documentary if you haven't seen it. I just now got around to seeing it. Bad on me, but that's how it works. Now, on another front, hey, Benno from Oz 1975, you're having way too much fun. So on another front, I do have something else to share with you on a personal note. I've been practicing what they call loose watercolor painting, meaning quick. You're not really taking time to plan out your painting. This is the smallest watercolor painting I've ever painted. I'll hold it up there for you to see. It's a flower. You're supposed to do these in 1 minute. It's just quick. Put down the paint, try to get your picture, use a particular technique that you choose that you want to. So I went wet on wet, more or less. I wet the area that I wanted to paint, and then I laid down the wet paint on it and let it flow. I did that more with the flower than anything, with the blue flower. But you can see that's smaller than my hand, and that was kind of fun. And I'm doing those just to get used to the way the paintbrush paints and all that jazz. Yeah, it is Impressionism. And then another one that I did that I just finished. Someone asked me the other day, do I paint portraits in watercolor? And I used to scroll saw portraits in wood, and I used to make them very realistic. And so I'm using that technique that I used in wood, although it's not the same in painting. It can't be. But I did use the same technique, and I painted my first watercolor portrait, and I chose a subject that none of you have ever heard about before, just to stump you, a guy named Jesus. Have you guys ever heard of him before? I never have, but I found a good reference of him, and I went ahead and painted my own version of him. This is Jesus, in case you didn't know. Now, what I did with this Jesus that was kind of fun, I took about 20 hours. What I did here on this side, on this upper part, I put, heavenly clouds and stuff. Over here, I symbolized chaos, the devil, as it were. And then down below, I used greens, browns, sort of water blues, etc., earthy tones. Every one of these corners contacted the portrait of Jesus, and so it was a fun symbolism to say they're all interacting with him, but he is still the King, the Lord, the Savior, the Creator, the organizer of the cosmos, etc. So anyway, he is a laughing, smiling Jesus, the stern Pantocrator, the stern judgment Jesus, etc. We had almost 2 millennia of him. I decided I'm not going to emulate that one. This personable one who is actually friends with people, that's the one I wanted to paint. So there it is. And I did okay with his eyes. I'll give you a good close-up. For my first watercolor portrait, it's okay. It's not going to be my last. It is my first. I'll do more. I want to do some portraits. Got to put that underneath the computer so it won't blow away. It's windy tonight out here. But I do have some other portraits of superstars I want to do. Maybe Mel Gibson, do some of the Game of Thrones characters. Yeah, there you go. It has the Jesus Christ Superstar vibe, man. Yeah. So anyway, well, thank you. That's very nice. I enjoy doing it. Hey, JB, maybe. How are you? Queens, New York City. Welcome. So in my coming to tap into my artistic side, I'm discovering I started watercolor painting about 5 years ago. I did it for a while, and then things caught up with me, and I'm just now trying to get back into it. Gene Judson's wife, from Latter Daily Digest, I get on their program every now and then. Every year when I go to Sunstone, she gives me a little painting, watercolor painting that she's done, just about that size. And she inspired me. I said, this last time she gave me one, I said, man, I'm going to get back onto it. And so I have, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm going to try to make some Christmas cards, I think, something like that. Art therapy, yes. Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting. It taps you into a dimension. No, I don't think it makes you an interdimensional being like the UFOs could. But yeah, it taps you into a very good, interesting dimension. So I just wanted to introduce the Izatt story to you tonight. It has been a very busy week. It has been a thought-provoking week through various experiences, various news items. Oh, I got a email. A lot's going on behind the scenes that I can't share with you right now, but I will eventually. But I wanted to share something that is very, very important from Danny Sheehan of the New Paradigm Institute. We've all seen videos of Danny Sheehan. The good news is he is now putting up a weekly podcast, Full Disclosure with Danny Sheehan, UFOs, Aliens, and Cover-Ups. I'm going to go to this real quick right here. I wanted to show you guys this because this is so cool that he is now podcasting, and he is an incredibly powerful voice that I think is worth looking at, worth listening to. He has done superb work with ufology and other areas of interest for the public. He is definitely one of the great public servants of our day. Full disclosure with Danny Sheehan, UFOs, aliens, and cover-ups. I will put a link in the description to this live session tonight where you can go start listening to him. It is through Danny Sheehan that I come to recognize there's a lot to it. He has a lot of very cool information, and then he has some great podcasts that he's listed to also watch that dovetail very well. He is a constitutional litigator who tried some of the most important cases in American history, from the Pentagon Papers to the Watergate scandal and the Iran-Contra. He is really a man to follow. And I think what Sheehan did to bring me full force into this whole disclosure aliens theme is it's been about a year ago when I heard from him. I can't remember which one he was on, when he was discussing the aliens are walking among us and that there are different types of these beings, and it's the Men in Black scenario. Now, we just recently rewatched the Men in Black about a month ago. That movie, and they had to put humor in it, there's no question about that, but that movie told us and showed us the truth. Crazy as that sounds, they have been warning us for a long time. They have been trying to gently build up our psychology so that we don't completely freak out and wig out when we find all this information. And they did so through the movies. Those movies are not made in a vacuum. Sheehan's material is such that he has been bringing it out stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's wonderful that he's finally got a podcast and he's getting information out more and more. And I will do, in fact, I probably ought to have him back on the show. I've had him on the show several months ago. I should try to get him back on the show if he's not too busy. He's a very busy man doing very important work. But yeah, I really, really enjoy his ideas, and his breadth of knowledge is second to none. There's no question about it. So thank you, Red Wolf. Yes. Yeah, they acclimate us. That, you know, we say we want full disclosure, and we do. And sometimes I've been a whiny little baby about it too. You know, I've blown my cork a few times with great impatience, as you've all seen, without question. On the other hand, when we can step back, observe a broader picture, we are getting disclosure. It's just not from the government, it's more from Hollywood. And it's crazy because you say, yeah, that's just movies. That's true, but there are truths in movies that the governments have never given us, and so we can't ignore them. Realistically, I would propose that there's probably a lot more ways that the truth has been taught to us, either through books, movies, lectures, discourses, YouTube, etc., than you're ever going to get from the government. And so when we recognize what that means for disclosure, when we recognize that we actually have to be prepared because the truth is so shocking that you just, there have been times where I have completely thrown in the towel and said, I can't handle this anymore. I was going to quit my UFO podcast a few months ago. I had come to the end, and I'd only been on for 8 months. And that's how much, I had absorbed so much, and I ran into some things, and I said, there's no way. Nope, that's it. That's enough. I'm done. And then I must have had a dream or something. I can't remember what it was, but something said, no, don't quit yet. You're just getting started. Keep going and keep studying and keep learning, because there's a lot more to this than you think. And it's very necessary to keep a dialogue going. And so here I am, still trying to attempt to learn as much as I can. I get sometimes pretty much fed up with all of the silly rumbling gossip going on in the community itself and all of the infighting. I get that. I've been part of the problem as far as that goes. I've criticized fellow podcasters at times in the past when I probably would have been better shutting my mouth, right? We do all want the truth. The Izatt documentary is part of that, and I would strongly encourage you to look at that documentary. And it's not a matter, I like Chris Ramsey, Area 52, of his philosophy. I've said this before, and it bears repeating. Seriously, it does. It's not like we're trying to get to either the believing side or the disbelieving side in ufology. It's not about believing at all. It's about gathering better data. So this Izatt documentary is really excellent on that score because of all of her films that she had and that they have looked at and that we now know about and what those films saw. That's superb data. As we improve our data gathering, we began to become more systematic. We are able to connect loose dots. My buddy Nate is constantly connecting loose dots. He's the one that got me on Burish and several other investigators and tying up loose ends, etc. This subject goes off into some pretty wild directions, as we all know now. I mean, the study of Mars is not a lunatic fringe idea anymore. That's incredible. Neither is the study of the moon. Well, this brings in astronomy, the study of quantum physics, which very precious few, I include myself in this, know anything hardly about. None of us do the mathematics unless you're a very superb, unique individual. But then you've probably been academically trained to only do the mathematics and not think about the philosophy of what it actually means. It's wild. It's a crazy trip. So, I mean, we're learning about propulsion. We're learning about cameras and how cameras work. We're learning about movies. Movies, I get it. Yeah, they're a movie. Nothing can be real in a movie. That's not the right approach. The data that the movies are showing us, as well as the documentaries, are very relevant. Believe it or not. Nothing, we do not prejudge and throw stuff out before testing it if we want to be actually scientific. That's the way it works. So I didn't invent the system. That's called science. It works best when we explore all the data and don't ridicule those like they used to do against Immanuel Velikovsky. They just slaughtered the poor guy. And it turns out that some of his material now is entirely relevant. He was right on so much stuff. And you're going, wow, man, that's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. Instead of prejudging, we need to include everything in testing for the probability of how likely is it that there's more than one alien species among us on Earth in disguise who can hide so well you can't tell they're aliens. That's freaky. I can't believe I even say this at this point. I'm 64 and I'm talking about aliens, UFOs, and stuff like I'm a cotton picking teenager kid. And yet here we are. It's crazy how all this works. So, anyway, that's pretty much all I've got. I've got a short live tonight. I have a lot of things to do this week that I have to go get ready for. I did not want to skip my live tonight. I wanted to show up and at least share this incredible Dorothy Izatt documentary theme with you. Go look it up and watch it. Very good documentary. I will be back this week with many, many more videos as we keep exploring, as we're keeping assessing and reassessing. We're hoping Richard Dolan has his second book on USOs soon to be published. It is approaching the end of August. He was hoping to get them all three out this year. We're supporting you in that, Richard. We really hope you can get them all out. The first book was absolutely a gold mine of glorious information. Really, and again, see, they say, well, he's a grifter. He sells books. The information of pre-1910 USO encounters, dozens of them, is absolutely worth the price of the book. Because, like Kevin Kanu said, and I talked about it just a couple days ago in a video, it wouldn't have been the Russians and the Chinese, nor us in the 1800s. And yet there is documented, valid accounts of the UFOs being the real phenomenon, coming from the sea and going into the sea. That bears understanding. Danny Sheehan, my man, Danny Sheehan, he is the one that described the base where the Tic Tacs were seen by David Fravor. There's an island out there, and there is a USO base underneath the ocean right there off the coast of California. They say there's another base in Sedona, Arizona. That's what makes it such a spiritual hotspot, because it's actually a UFO base. There's apparently several of them, according to remote viewing, that are all over the world. So this is fascinating. They're here among us, whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not. And what a perfect way to disguise themselves as us. Since we're the predominant species, it makes perfect sense. I've had great difficulty. I'm not going to hide it from you. I've had great difficulty in coming to an acceptance, and I don't think I have yet. I promise I'm working on it, but it's difficult from my perspective, for me personally, to accept the fact that the aliens can shapeshift. That is a very difficult concept for me. I'm not going to hide that from you. I am trying to be respectful of the theme. And why is it so difficult? I've been trying to think about this and explore this. The reason shape-shifting aliens just does not jive with me is because we can't do it. And if we humans can't do it, then nobody else can. Do you see the fallacy there? Now, it's a fallacy we all have with this subject in particular. There is no question about it. Our fallacy is this: only what we humans can do, since we are based on reality, is how the universe works. And we don't even know 4%, if that, of how the universe works. And yet, in our vaunted arrogance, we think that objective reality is based upon our utterly minuscule, limited experience. And all else is obviously fake, because if we can't do it, then they can't either. That's a fallacy. I don't know how else to break it to you softly, but we're never more wrong when we think that way. Now, I'm acknowledging that openly, but emotionally, I still can't wrap my head around the idea of shape-shifting UFOs. And that's my issue. Others may have other areas of issues, you know. It's everyone's different. Everyone has their, you know, limitations of what are you going to accept as real and whether you're going to say is fake. Sometimes Nate will present information to me that I just balk at. I don't tell him that sometimes, but I just can't accept it. Other times he says stuff that is so utterly incredible, and then he elaborates on it, and I see the point, and I do a show with him. 3/4 of what he's told me and I balked at, we've done shows on, because I've sat back, think about it. See, I can't just accept something because someone says so. I have to mull it over in my mind. I have to, you know, read some books. I have to look at some videos, watch some documentaries, you know, etc. And then I can slowly come around. See, that's the essence of being human. We are so slow on the uptake that we can't just instantly accept truth when we see it. The ufology issue is one of my proofs. It's very, very real. I can physically say that, but mentally and intellectually, I'm not all the way there. I struggle. That's just how it is. That's what I do. So onward, forward, and upward with caution, with sincere effort to not be deceived, but that goes both ways. Not be deceived by over-enthusiastic believers who are full of it, any more than not be deceived by over-enthusiastic skeptics who are full of it. You see, it's a balancing act. All sides, instead of ridicule, all sides need to have their say-so. Carl Sagan said this. To ridicule someone for sharing an idea is absolutely immorally wrong. Dead wrong. We have no right to ridicule. We examine, we explore, we test hypothesis. We test the ideas. You don't mock them because they sound so damn stupid to us. But what sounds stupid to me was a genius move on Nikola Tesla's view. You see, I can't base insanity, stupidity, and intelligence based on my own insanity, stupidity, and intelligence, because I don't have enough of any of it to be hardly valid. Neither do any of the rest of us, including the geniuses of our human race. So again, and I've said this and it bores the heck out of people, but I'm speaking the total truth, so you better repeat this. It calls for a lot more humility on our parts and a better willingness to explore. And we just want to be given the answers. I get it. I'm on board with that, but that's not how it works. The teacher doesn't just open your head, pour in the answers and said, way to go, you're a straight A student. Sorry, that's not how learning and knowledge works. If you think it does, you are woefully deceived, man. You're in for a hard, rough life if you're fairly young and you have that approach. I feel your pain, sucker. You better change your attitude. They say change your attitude, change your life. That can go both for good or for bad in your life. You get to choose. So now I'm lecturing, and I don't mean to lecture, but it's really important to, this idea of stay balanced. That's pretty critical. If you think I'm kidding, ask the circus tightrope walker. They have to be pretty balanced or they'll fall off the rope and drop to their death. That's not just a cute little saying. Oh, well, we have to be balanced. If you're not balanced, you can become psychotic. That's what a psycho is just someone who's lost their balance, and they desperately need that. That's why the study of the spiritual traditions, that's why the study of science, that's why the study of all the subjects that we have before us is so vital. It doesn't matter how you study them, books, movies, however, talking with other geniuses on the planet. I'm very fortunate that I have a couple of them in my life, and I'm grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that, just like I'm grateful for all of you, my audience. But in the course of talking to the geniuses, we can't ignore the common folk because they have so many answers as well. So if you are hyped up with the academic, don't stop there. Don't think they're the only ones that have the information. So does the common Joe. There's a lot of fantastic wisdom and intelligence in everyday, normal Sally, Dick, and Jane people that we all ignore. Balance is a key to getting through all of this, whatever all of this is, but it really is going to include this UFO disclosure. It is happening, just not in the way we was hoping. We would like the dramatic, ta-da, the big man on stage, etc. I get all that. I want that myself, without question. But sometimes it comes in a different avenue, and you have to be ready when that avenue shows up. The road less traveled is the more important one for your own growth and personal development and the increase of your own acumen and intelligence. But it's also the more difficult road, because you don't get a cheat off someone else's answers pretending like you're intelligent because you memorize someone else's answers. Those answers may not be right. And even if those answers are right for them, they may not be right for you. Boy, how's that for a lecture? That's not bad, right? All right, man. Hey, it is actually starting to rain, and I'm out here with my computer. I'm going to shut it down. I don't want to ruin my computer. Thanks for your attendance. I appreciate all of you. Hit the like, subscribe, and share. I'll be back with a whole lot more videos coming up just shortly on every subject imaginable, and I'll keep sharing more of my paintings with you. And remember, for those of you who do think this way, may Jesus shine his light upon you. Yeah, I know. The Christians will love that. Yeah, I get it. Some of us aren't Christian. It's all good. I'll paint a picture of Buddha, and I'll paint a picture of Einstein. I'll do one of Khaleesi in Game of Thrones and Jon Snow and all those. I've done their dragon. Now I got to do them. So more art coming up, more intellect coming up, more ufology coming up. Lots of fun stuff coming through the pipeline. I got to head out. Yeah, it's really starting to rain now. All right, I love y'all, but I got to go. Thank you once again. I'm grateful for every one of you. Have a blessed week, every doggone one of you. See you soon.